I never imagined I'd be sitting here telling this story. It's my story now, but it began with my grandfather, Halvor, and what he lived through in those dark times. He called it the tale of the Bigfoot that hunted Nazis. My name is Leif, and I'm a new listener from Norway, and what I'm about to share has been whispered around campfires in our family for generations. It's a story that makes you wonder if there are things out there, deep in the wilds, that defy our understanding, things that guard the ancient lands with a fury none of us can comprehend. Norway's cold, jagged mountains had seen centuries of conflict, but none like this. Wars had come and gone, echoes of Viking raids and skirmishes between rival clans, but now a darker shadow stretched over the land. The towering peaks, dusted with snow and crowned by mist, had always stood as silent witnesses, enduring the brutal elements and bearing scars from ancient battles. Yet the invasion that crept through these forests and valleys was different. An unrelenting force of occupation that sank its claws into the heart of Norway. The Nazis brought not only guns and soldiers, but a chilling sense of domination, as though they sought to conquer not just the people, but the very spirit of the land itself. I remember my days during the war well. In 1940, after the brutal battle at Narvik, the first Allied victory in World War II, the air felt different, charged with a heavy, unspoken tension that lingered in every shadow. The victory had been hard-won, a bloody struggle in which I had fought fiercely, standing shoulder to shoulder with men defending our homeland. Yet even as the last shots faded, I sensed something ominous in the air, a creeping dread that chilled me more than the bitter winter wind. I knew my homeland was vulnerable, a fragile line drawn in the snow, and while my fellow resistance fighters and I were bound to this land by love and duty, we were now almost entirely alone. After Narvik, the Allied forces withdrew under the cover of night, leaving Norway exposed to the brutal ambitions of the Third Reich. As I watched the last French and British ships slip over the horizon, a hollow feeling settled within me. Abandonment, betrayal. We had risked our lives, believing we were part of a larger cause, only to find ourselves deserted. The Germans returned with unbridled vengeance, more determined than ever to stamp out resistance and secure control over the region. They flooded Norway with troops, pouring in like a dark tide, and unleashed their brutal will on the helpless population. Families were torn from their homes, villages were razed, and anyone suspected of aiding the resistance faced swift, merciless punishment. The Nazis set up checkpoints, patrols swept through the countryside, and the once quiet mountains became hunting grounds. The land itself seemed to recoil under the oppressive weight of occupation, a silent witness to the horrors unfolding upon it. Every step I took, every move I made, I felt the presence of those relentless soldiers closing in, intent on destroying anything and anyone who dared to stand against them. I was marked for death by the Waffen-SS Nord, elite mountain warfare experts who hunted me with unyielding precision. These men were masters of survival in harsh terrain, bred for the snowbound warfare that Norway's mountains demanded. I knew they would not tire, would not falter until I was either captured or dead. So I turned to the only refuge I had left, the vast wilderness, a land as unforgiving as it was familiar. Here, among the towering trees and frozen cliffs, I believed I could vanish. But even as I pushed deeper into the wilderness, leaving behind any trace a tracker might find, a sense of unease began to creep in. I felt the weight of something I couldn't name, a presence that seemed to shift through the shadows. It was as if I had stepped into a realm beyond the reach of men, a place untouched by time and darkened by secrets far older than the mountains themselves. This was a presence beyond human understanding, something ancient and watchful, lingering at the edges of my vision and sending chills down my spine. The forest, which once felt like an ally, now felt like a world apart, where the line between man and myth began to blur. The Sami, a nomadic people with deep roots in northern Norway, have lived in these lands for thousands of years, far longer than even the Vikings. This is a region of dramatic fjords, sweeping valleys, and jagged peaks blanketed by snow for much of the year, a place that seems untouched by time, where the wilderness has remained fiercely untamed. Sami legends speak of ancient beings who guard this rugged terrain, one of which is the elusive Stalu, said to be a giant, troll-like creature, The Stalu is a mysterious and powerful force that moves through the dense forests and snowy mountains, almost like a shadow. They say he appears only to those who disturb the land or venture too far into its hidden places, as if protecting the delicate balance between nature and mankind. It's whispered that the Stalu can shift form, blending into the landscape like a ghost, watching in silence and choosing carefully when to make his presence known. To encounter him is rare and often ominous, a warning for those who fail to respect the wild. The days were cold and bitter, each breath biting against my skin and clawing its way into my bones like a relentless predator. Frost clung to every surface, coating the trees in a thin layer of ice that glistened under the pale sun, transforming the forest into a hauntingly beautiful realm that felt both enchanting and foreboding. The delicate frost crystals sparkled like tiny diamonds, casting an ethereal glow that momentarily distracted me from the chill that seeped through my thick woolen coat. Yet, as the sun dipped lower in the sky, the warmth it offered quickly faded, and an ominous silence enveloped the woods. When night fell, the world transformed into a harsh, unforgiving landscape. Darkness crept in swiftly, swallowing the dim light of day and cloaking the forest in shadows. The air grew denser with an almost palpable weight, pressing down on my shoulders as if the very forest itself was closing in around me. The cold seemed to intensify, a biting chill that sank deeper into the earth and spread through the frozen landscape like a merciless tide. Every rustle of leaves and every crack of a branch echoed ominously in the stillness.